What's going on, guys? Today we're going to play with the shrinker stretcher, fabricate some 18 gauge, and show you guys some of the cool tricks you can do to use on your race cars, your hot rods, or whatever. So stay tuned. Let's get to it. Today we're going to make flying saucers. What was that? Spaceship. Try to make a horseshoe. All right, I just cut that to 23 inches. You can see these teeth. And these are a couple items that we got from Harbor Freight. So to stay on budget for you guys, hey guys, today we're gonna do a short video, just talking about the shrinker stretcher. We're gonna use the brake for a few minutes, and then we'll use a hole punch. And these are a couple items that we got from Harbor Freight. So to stay on budget for you guys, just like us, we're on a budget, but we'll take a quick look at this. This is a stretcher and a shrinker. And what it does is, if you get real close here, you can see these teeth. They're going to grab a hold of the metal and they're going to spread it out. And then on the other side, this one's going to take the material. See where the arrows are pointing in? You see the 4 teeth right there, and they're going to squish the metal inward. These are from Harbor Freight. Now you guys can get different brands like Eastwood, Bailey, all these different brands out there make really cool ones. But to stay on a tight budget like a lot of us are, we just want to show you a couple quick tricks. But what I'll do is I'll grab a couple pieces of metal. We've got some metal sitting over here that we've cut on our plasma cutter. Something as simple as this. So this is just a piece, just a basic circle we cut out. We just made a quick little dish playing with it. One of the things I wanted to show you though, and this is the difference between a high-end shrinker stretcher and kind of a lower end. The lower end ones like this, the teeth are not very close together, meaning the little tiny grooves you guys see in there that grabs a hold of the material and either pulls it or pushes it. This one will leave some, you know, if you're really hammering on it, it's going to leave some grooves in it. So anyways, for fun, I took one and I just basically was sitting here going around the machine. You put it in, like this one has maybe a 3/4 inch depth to it. And then what you do is you just literally get it in there where you want, grab a hold of it. I'm just going to keep doing this every, say, 1/2 inch rotation. And it's going to keep pulling that material inward. Now, there is different machines that have deeper jaws, so you can go farther and farther inward and do some really cool shapes. But for fun, we wanted to show you guys this. I don't know what we do with this. What do we do with this, Trey? Make a target out of it or something?
It's a moon disc.
Yeah. Like, say you wanted to French in some headlights or something.
Yeah.
Or not headlights. Let's say some fog lights, or say you wanted to do some really cool tail lights or something. You could probably set this up, or maybe you're building your own custom dashboard in your hot rod and you want to sit there and make your own gauge cluster, and you want it to sink inward or whatever. You need a perimeter cut out. I don't know. Chinese star, whatever you want. But anyways, there's one fun little trick. Now this one, these are pieces that I pre-bent like a piece of angle, okay? So this is 18 gauge. What I wanted to show you guys is, so see how we expanded it on one leg and it arced it downward? And then on the other side, I took and shrank it. So I've got two different directions going here. Say you wanted to make a window frame on your car. So as far as taking a piece of angle iron that we bent, so I'll go ahead and we'll just take a piece. We'll go ahead and take it over to the brake and bend it. I also wanted to show you too the different directions. This could be a window frame. This can be a rocker. I'm working on a Zephyr right now that I literally had to make the whole entire interior window piece, and this is how we did it. So we took the plasma cutter, we cut us some parts out. Trey's got a section in his car right now. This is his drift car. We're getting ready to put a rear radiator in it, so we've had to gut a lot of the parts out of the car. There's a piece right there that we're gonna spot weld from top to bottom. So right now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take this one. This is at, I think, 3.5. Let's check it. Piece that's 3.5. I'm gonna bend a 1/2 inch lip and a 1/2 inch lip. And then we're going to take it and we're going to put it on the shrinker, and we're going to start to rotate it inward. Oh, which one? Yeah, we need to go inward. So we're going to try to make a horseshoe, but with 2 edges on it. So it seems like it's kind of hard to do with this little guy. Some of the bigger shrinker stretchers would be a little bit easier, but let's go ahead and go over the break and bend it. I'm gonna mark these 2 real quick at 1/2 inch. Oh wait, actually, let's show them something on the break. Here's something real quick, guys. When you're making hat channel and things like that go under your car, when you're building a new floor, you're making new supports for your tunnel, whatever you're doing on your firewall, these finger brakes usually have a lower piece like this, which would be a lower piece of angle iron. That this is where you can help bend the material. Okay, goes like that. I'm taking it off because one of the applications we needed was a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. So because of that piece of angle iron, it's going to block me from flipping this over to get that other 1/2 inch. And I'll show you what I mean by that. This is an Eastwood brake. I think it's about $1,200. We call it a finger brake because these are fingers that are removable. So if we're doing a 4-sided pan, we can bend all 3 legs of it and then come in here and basically remove what we need to, so when the edges come up, they're not going to hit on this. So I'm just going to do another video where we're just talking about box pans, brakes, making battery boxes, things like that. So that's another whole story. But here's what I wanted to show you right here. This lip right here, this secondary lip. Now I couldn't do that. I wouldn't be able to catch that bend right there if I left this on here. So the good thing about this is these are removable. You can take it off. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take this. We already know, because we pre-bent some of these pieces you guys see. I already know that mark right on the end of this machine is going to get me right where I want. So that's going to be about 7/16. Watch your fingers. You guys don't smash them when you drop these. Now this is a 16 gauge max, meaning it won't really do more than that. If you force it, you're going to dent these and destroy them. So it's not worth tearing up your machine for a piece of metal that, you know, $5 piece of metal or whatever. But anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and bend this one up. And any of you guys out there that have a brake, you guys know that trying to do a 1/2 inch lip sometimes is not fun, especially on one of these smaller brakes like this, because this isn't a high-end one. Like I said, this one's maybe $1,200. Bailey's got some of the best equipment out there. I would love to have some Bailey stuff. So there's our beginning of our 1/2 inch lip. Okay, I'm just gonna flip it over, tuck it in backwards in the machine. Because here, let me show you guys something real quick. Here's exactly what I was talking about. Let's put this on here real quick so they can see it. If this angle iron is in the way, so this works great when you're doing bigger bends, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, whatever. And you can cheat. But say, okay, so now I'm ready to flip this upside down and do a Z, like this. Well, I can't. You can come in here and force it down. And you're going to be a little crooked when you do it. But do you see what I'm saying? I'm not set perfect when I go to do this. And I take a chance in this whole piece slipping outward and then destroying what I'm trying to bend. So in this case, I'm going to remove this piece of angle iron, let this piece drop down flat so the material sits flat against the die like it's designed to. So we'll move this real quick again. And you'll see the more compound curves and things like that, like you're making hat channel and stuff like this, you'll see how difficult it becomes. Anyways, let me get that off there real quick. Okay, I'm just gonna flip this around backwards. You could do it like this, but here's another thing. We're grabbing hold of that material and we're right at the end of the bend. If I put this 1/2 inch lip right here at the end of the bend and I grab it like this, Some machines might do it. This one won't. This one's not strong enough. What it's going to do is it's going to slip that right out of there. I have nothing good to bind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in backwards. Put it back in the machine. So there's a whole bunch of material. There's 2 inches of material sitting there behind the die. So now we're in our same spot. We're lined up against our edge. So we got a 7/16 bend, which turns out to be 1/2 inch for what we need on 18 gauge. We didn't minus anything off of our bend either. This doesn't have to be 100% accurate for what we're doing right now, but we also want to show you guys what I'm talking about. See that where that slipped? Luckily, the material is still in there and it didn't slip out. So, and sometimes you guys, if your brake is out of whack, tighten it here, loosen it here. Try to keep it adjusted for different thicknesses of material. And if it's not square enough for you right here, take a hammer and tap it in. But right now, we're looking pretty good. So we'll lift that up. All right. There's our little cap piece. These are used in cars all the time. All kinds of stuff. You can do, oh my gosh, it's endless. So what we're going to do for Trey's car is we're going to make a backwards kind of horseshoe, right? So if I was to shrink this right now and come in here, and luckily it fits in our machine just right. But if I start grabbing a hold of the shrinker, which is the one that grabs the material like this, it's going to make the horseshoe go this way. Okay, so we want to deflect it the other way. We want to go backwards. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the stretcher. Now, I'm not sitting here using a gauge or a guide. We're just guessing. So what I'm going to do is we'll go ahead and start stretching it slowly. And if you watch real close, on the top view maybe even, I'm going to do like 2 or 3 of them. You start to see this whole plane is starting to move. See how one side's already starting to come down and one side's still up? Well, while we're doing that, we can stop right there before we get too out of whack and go ahead and turn it around. Keep track of what you did. I just did 3. So we'll get right back on that edge. Do 1, 2, 3. So we're already starting to shape that. You see where I'm going with this? So takes a minute. We'll probably fast forward the film and I'll sit here and I'll go ahead and go around that whole deal and then we'll get a backwards horseshoe. And then we're going to show you another quick trick. A piece of TIG rod real quick and just kind of make a quick guide because we're kind of guessing right now on what arc we wanted. So we'll see how close we can get this first. Needs to be a little tighter. That's giving us an idea. All right, let's go to town for a second on this guy. Sometimes it helps having a concrete floor in your shop that's level. Unfortunately, ours isn't. Whoever poured the concrete here was having a fun time that day. So be careful if you get too far ahead of yourself when you're doing this. And I'm just barely hitting it. Because what's going to happen is if you start shrinking or stretching one side a little too much, the 2 of them will get out of whack. We have a sample piece I can show you what'll happen is right here. So this is a quick example of I went ahead and just over hammered it on one side and then didn't on the other. So you can kind of see what'll happen is if you don't keep up with each side kind of equally, it'll start to get out of whack. But if you're doing a pillar in a car and you want it to go like that, hey, that might work for you. So let's get back to shaping that real quick. All right, let's stretch these out a little bit. When you want to make a longer arc, you can kind of stretch them out. Don't go as severe. Bailey has a really nice brake. So, actually, Eastwood does too, or Stretcher. Eastwood's got one that I think has an 8-inch, or it's an 8-inch, so it has a wider jaw. Meaning right here, this is deeper, so you can go farther in. You can also sometimes take a tipping die on a bead roller, you know, like our bead roller over here. Sometimes you can also take a tipping die and keep going over it and over it until you get that lip to stand up however you want. So sometimes there's a few different ways of doing this. We just wanted to show you what you can do with a very affordable piece of equipment. Okay. One thing I would do is take these and get better springs. Like I took this one apart the other day and kind of re-greased it and stuff, but could definitely probably use some better springs. And these, you don't have to use the foot pedal. They make them, actually there's a hand piece right here that you can push down, but honestly, you guys probably won't like it because there's a lot of smack in that thing and it starts to get annoying after a while. So let's see, I feel like we're a little tighter than we should be, but that's all right. We're getting close. That's all we want, is we want to get close. This stuff works great for all kinds of applications. It doesn't have to be just cars, but we figured while we're in the middle of doing this, I might as well show you guys a quick trick. Now, if it starts to get out of line a little bit, just kind of go backwards and forwards. You can go back and now I can go take this whole entire arc out of it by going back and using the shrinker side. Right now I'm using the stretcher side. So we'll get a little bit more bend in it. And I'm looking straight down, so I'm watching both lips at the same time to make sure that we're pretty close. I'm gonna finish this one. I feel like the beginning of this is a little sharp, so maybe we'll take some of that out. We're getting a little closer, so. All right, a little bit more on this one, and we should be good. It'd be nice to bolt this to the floor. But our shop's not super huge, so a lot of times we have to move things around, so a lot of our equipment is on wheels. Sometimes this stuff takes a minute. Now, what I usually do is I come back with like a flapper disc on a grinder, and I'll kind of flatten out these little bites from the stretcher. See the little teeth marks? They're not bad. You can usually grab a DA or something and knock them down if it's going to be something exposed in a car.
$22.
22? What'd you say, sir?
23?
23? Sure. Let's do that. We're going to cut that at 23. Okay. Plus, we need to make some battery boxes for his race car. We've got battery box, not boxes. We've got some other stuff to make for the Zephyr and then the Austin Healey that I'm building. And then the motorcycle over here that needs a bunch of fab work done to it. So we'll probably be going over quite a bit of sheet metal stuff, especially on the welding side of it. All right, I'm gonna grab some safety glasses and I'm gonna cut this real quick. All right, I just cut that to 23 inches, I think it was. We're gonna swap this out real quick. Around here, we don't use grinder, we don't use guards on our grinders. Yeah, sorry if that irritates anybody, but we don't use them. They get in the way. So, no thanks. You guys do whatever you want in your shops. Don't do what we're doing when it comes to stuff like that. That's up to you for safety. All right, let's take that part and see if it fits. We used our little template, that worked. We stretched both sides, 18 gauge. And by the way, guys, when we're doing our panels, it's always a good idea to take a DA, dual action sander. What I mean by that Go ahead and pre-sand that stuff, especially if you know if you're going to paint it later. Saves you a big headache. That means everything's already prepped and ready to go for your primers or your epoxy sealer or whatever you're going to do. But anyways, let's check that. We got a lot of body parts to put on this car. So there you go. We're going to lock it in like that before we do the rest of our covers. Trey's going to clean off that paint right there, and we're going to punch some holes in the top, punch some holes in the bottom. He can weld that in, and that's going to be done. So real quick, what we'll show you before we jump back to the shrinker stretcher. Chief makes this one. Now I got to tell you guys, I have 2 of these from Matco, okay? Matco, that's supposed to be the bomb. I have 2 of them. They're made in China from Matco. $350 a piece. They're both broken. I've had this one from Harbor Freight, probably still from China, but for over a year and a half now. No issues. We have another one from Harbor Freight. This one's about 80 bucks. This one is like $25. This is another Harbor Freight one. This is, I think I've used this one a couple times, but the thing I didn't like it, I think at the time, because of the hole punch size was a little too small, so I don't really use this one that much anymore. But I have 2 more Matco ones sitting in a box that Matco won't, they won't warranty. Matco. You know how much money we've spent with them? Anyways, so I want to show you guys what this is. It's a portable hole punch. And on top of that, there's a crimper right there. Can you see that little step down? So what this is awesome with to do is, say you're laying in a panel, and you need to lay another panel over the top of it, and you want to do an overlap spot weld. Because if you guys think about the cars that you have every day and the cars are manufactured, they're spot welded together. They're not fully welded out, okay? Spot welds, it makes things tear easier. It makes it crumble easier. That's why it's so sketchy sometimes when you see people welding rebar in their cars. It's like it's an impalement thing over your, over your chest height. When you have hard things like that in the car, it's very dangerous. We still do it. But when I'm building car bodies and stuff like that, I do everything with 18 gauge. I use spot welds. Yeah, I don't do any of that other stuff. So anyways, to be safe, in case you have something grenade anytime with a pneumatic tool, let's put our safety glasses on. See that little hole it punched? So what we can do is we can overlay now with our MIG or TIG, we can go ahead and spot weld that onto a car, onto another piece of metal. What do I have? What do we have here? Like, say for example, we were in some weird spot and I needed to shrink this one and it wouldn't fit in the brake, or I have multiple bends on it. Now you can lay that part right there, spot weld those in, and you've got an overlay lap like that, just like a real car. But don't forget, now, good idea, good practice is to use a weld through primer or steel it on the back side of your panels. So you don't want your panels to rust, because once you put them in the car, you might not be able to get back in there and seal it. So sometimes ahead of time, it's a good idea to go ahead and put weld through primer on here. Now when you go to on both sides, and now when you go weld it on, you've got a seal, a waterproof seal in there. And you may even still put seam sealer on it or whatever. But and so I want to show you the crimper real quick. I don't use the crimper that much, but what it'll do is, or step, you can call it a step actually. Let me start on that end so you guys can see it. What it's gonna do is it's gonna give us a little bit of a lip. Making noises like music. And there's lots of companies that make lots of expensive ones too. You don't have to buy any of this stuff that we're showing you from Harbor Freight. But part of what we wanted to do on our channel with our paint videos and our fab videos is to keep everything at fairly low cost. So it's all affordable. We also wanted you guys to know some of the craziest cars we've ever built We didn't have a car lift. We didn't have a plasma cutter. We had to do everything with a cutting wheel, a grinder, and a welder. That's it. Built the whole car like that. So some of us are not rich, right? You can also mount this in a vise. That way you're more accurate. But for this video, and you can see it puts a crimp in it too, so you gotta be careful. Depending on where I'm moving the press or the little guy at, put a crimp in it. What I mean by that is it can get crooked. See the little bite marks in there? You could fine tune those. You could clean those up with a file. That way they don't crimp it as bad. But if this is a piece that's going under the car, say in the floor or whatever, it's not gonna matter. Now, when I go to spot weld the back of that seam, say I'm doing a floor in a car, now that little cutout, that's what that's for. That's so that that piece of sheet metal can interlay in between that piece of sheet metal. So it's always stronger to have a backer on your sheet metal when you're doing different parts or chops on the car, obviously, than it is to butt weld it up. You know what I mean? It's always gonna be stronger. So that was just one other quick little trick we wanted to show you. Once again, that's a Chief hole punch crimper from Harbor Freight. Shrinker stretcher from Harbor Freight. Anyways, this is the part going in Trey's car. We're gonna do a couple quick ones. He's gonna spot weld this in. Oops, if I get it in, all right. Now normally, some of you body guys know when you take out a rocker panel, sometimes you have to drill out 15, 16 rivets, or I mean spot welds from the factory. And this is what we're just replicating that exact same thing. So now, good thing the white paint's still in there so you guys can see it. You may have to zoom in. But that's where, oh, we should go a little tighter. We'll push that in. Now when he cleans the paint off, he's gonna spot weld right through that. Boom, 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 boom. Attach that to the car. We're gonna be good to go. So there, you owe me $100, Trey. So there you go on that. These are also ones that we were shrinking and stretching. These are parts I'm making for another car right now, a window frame. So I'm just gonna take a quick flapper. By the way, another tool from Harbor Freight. Bauer. Gosh, you'd think we were sponsored by Harbor Freight, but we're not. Maybe someday, right? Harbor Freight's getting better with their stuff. Their Icon stuff's pretty cool. But I wanted you guys to see that on camera, is that, see what I mean by using this type of shrinker stretcher. Like I said, the teeth, the little tiny teeth that grab a hold of the material are very spaced out compared to like a Bailey. Bailey's teeth are super fine and they don't damage the material as much. Now, if this is all internal stuff that you're not gonna see after you weld it, no big deal. But if this is an exterior finished product, be careful on how much, you know, you're really yanking on it. But say you went a little too far, you want to take that back out, come back to your stretcher, put it back in the machine, start slowly hitting that. See the material starting to bend? Watch it right here. I'm hitting it in that 1/2 inch place we were talking about. Stretching it out. And we're almost back to probably getting close to being straight. It's got a little bit of an arc to it because I'm kind of a little faster than I should be doing it. But see what I'm saying? Now you can just take it right back out. And then if you wanted to go the other way with it, we're gonna hit that super hard. I'm only moving the material maybe about a 1/2 inch at a time. The more you guys play with this stuff, the more you'll start to see like how far you should go with it. But say we need to do another cap joint for an open piece, You know, Trey's car, we've got to do a lot of fill-in panels for his race car because a lot of this stuff is going to be fiberglass. But here's some cool stuff. Like say, we're putting a radiator in here. So if you guys want to see us actually put the rear radiator in it and that system, we'll show you. But say this was one of our hot rods and you wanted to make a really cool window frame. You can do that. You can take these, you can wrap these and go around corners. There's all kinds of cool stuff you can do with the shrinker stretcher. Blah, 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 blah. What do you want to make? What do you want to do? What are we building? Cap joints, covers, endless amounts of fun stuff. Right, Trey?
Yes, sir.
All right, guys, thanks so much. That was just a quick rundown on a quick, easy Harbor Freight shrinker stretcher. You guys can make some really cool stuff for your cars and projects out there. So stay tuned. We've got more stuff coming with the brakes. We've got more stuff coming with the bead rollers. We've got more welding tips and tricks. We've got all kinds of cool stuff to show you guys.
Like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.
Thank you, guys. See ya.